Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to One Day Today. This is episode 75. That's wow. It's kind of amazing. We're at 75 of these already. It's kind of hard to believe. So I hope everyone's having a wonderful week so far. We had it's for me. My week has been it's been very eventful, and I've had a lot of inner resistance. I've had a lot of things. And this is kind of partly what this space is for, but it's funny with all the things I'm up to, and this amazing nonprofit that we have, and this vision that we have so many amazing leaders contributing to, including our guests who are here today. It's so funny, how life happens. How the things that impact our day and impact really our life are the things that we don't expect, the things that we don't see coming, and it's like, and we never see them coming because we can't see them coming, and it's like this false sense of control. But my last week, I've been busy as ever, facing overwhelm, and I started having these other things, situations kind of piling up, and it kind of got to the point where I was just like, it's resistance, and I was like, I don't want to do anything. I don't feel well. I don't feel like doing this, and it's just, but I'm seeing, and Matthew was talking about this before we started the episode. It's like this choice that I have, the choice that we all have in the present moment. It's really where my growth and my standing and my commitment to peace and transformation and sharing the beautiful gifts that every person in this world has to share with us. I'm seeing when I'm faced with those unexpected obstacles, when I'm faced with the uncertain, like that's when I'm tested. It's when that little voice in my head comes up and says, you can't do this. I don't know how to do this. Or I don't know, like, you're not good enough, or you're like, you don't know how to do that, or how do I do this, or I don't want to do this. And it's like this little resistance. And when I believe that voice to be me, it's like I just feel my own experience of myself, my own fulfillment, my own, it's just like I feel deflated when I actually believe that little voice, that resistance that says, you can't, I don't want to do this, or I can't do this, or I don't know how to do this. But what I see is that's where the test is. It's like in the present moment, when when I'm actually focused on what I'm committed to, and every voice in my head is screaming, don't. My body is like, I don't want to do it. Just put it off. But when I can actually still create my own intentionality, I can still choose to do it despite every sense in my body saying not to. And what's on the other side of that is something that I've never experienced in my own, knowing myself to be someone who, even when my body and my mind says you can't, I can still have the choice to stand in what I'm committed to, and to contribute to others, and to take care of myself. And it's so funny, even when it feels so hard, it's really still a choice. And I feel like this space and this stage there's been a million examples of people with the same stories. Like, no matter what they're facing, whatever situation, whatever maybe abuse that they're facing, that's what amazing about the human spirit is. Like, despite our situation, we can still choose something greater for ourselves and others. And it's something that I forget, almost would say every day, but it feels like every hour. I forget my own power, my own possibility, my own potential. And I just want to put that out there to remind everybody that even when you think you can't, you can. When you think you can't do that you're committed to, give yourself compassion, give yourself space. That you can still choose to create and seek beauty and possibility in the face of resistance in all its forms, whether it's internal or external. So welcome, everybody. Let me say hello now to our co-host, Matthew. Hey, buddy.
Hey, brother man. Good to be here as always. It's funny what you were just talking about. Something that came while you were sharing is one of the things that helped me in getting over that particular thing is really paying attention to how it felt to continue not doing something.
Hmm.
Um, and what I noticed is over time, like short term, yeah, it was easier. It was more pleasurable not to do whatever thing it was I felt drawn to do, whatever that would be. Like it felt easier to watch TV or to read a book or to go out for a walk, whatever. Um, but over the long term, that led to this numbness, which fell into depression, which fell into suicidal thoughts, which fell into like, I mean, it was just this downward spiral of just pain and suffering, basically. Um, and eventually I got to a point that I had to remind myself for quite a while, it feels better to be doing something than nothing.
Hmm.
Because if I let myself fall into that, because again, like I would go out and I would do something and I would start feeling better, and then that feeling of being overwhelmed or whatever the resistance was in me at that time would come up again, and I would start not doing anything again, like because I was feeling overwhelmed or I was feeling exhausted or like I couldn't figure it out or whatever it was, or I just didn't know how to do it. And so I'd go back to watching Netflix or whatever, and that spiral of depression would start all over again. And so it was just a constant reminder of I can choose to sit down and watch Netflix, but I am aware of the consequences of that now.
Right.
And so
Totally.
it's become much easier to choose to actually get up and go fix the dishwasher, which is kind of my project today, or go install the new electrical box, or go fix the motorcycle, or whatever it is that actually feels drawn to do, or host a retreat, which I'll be doing here in a couple of weeks. So work on that instead of actually just doing nothing.
Hmm. Totally. Yeah. No, I can relate, and it's for me. It's like I'll try to invent time. Like after a busy day, so or sometimes a busy day of avoiding work. I'll spend say a 12-hour shift, and it's like 10 hours, not 10 hours avoiding work and 2 hours doing the actual work. But it's totally a choice, and it's something that we all. It's like well for me, like I try to invent hours. Like I'll have a busy day, and I will get to the end of the day, and it's like, okay, well, it's late, but I didn't really get any time to relax, so I'm gonna pretend that if I stay up and just relax, that it won't affect me the next day. And it's just like this, it compounds, and I'll avoid taking care of myself or just sending the emails that I had to send out, and it just piles up, and I just yeah, and I know what you mean by that numbness. Like it just like I could just avoid it and just you know watch Netflix and look at YouTube and just ignore everything that I'm saying that I'm taking responsibility for, and it's like it always comes back to bite me.
Yeah, and I like most people I meet have that same, like it's like the brain is wired by default for short-term pleasure, and so that's what it's constantly seeking. And
Hmm.
it's just a matter of recognizing that first of all, and then rewiring it. And the rewiring, it seems to take longer than actually recognizing that the choice happens. The rewiring, it takes dedication and practice to constantly get up and do whatever it is that is asking to be done. Um, but yeah, like recognizing that that is a choice, and that by doing nothing, you are actually choosing to suffer.
Yeah, essentially,
Yeah.
yeah. All too familiar with that. Well, let's welcome our first guest. I'm really excited to have him. Welcome to the stage with us is RBJ.
You guys, this is thank you so much for having me. Wait, I'm about to change the script here. You guys brought up such cool stuff. Can we just talk about this for a little bit?
Yeah,
Can I take the
totally.
time here?
Sure.
I primarily I'm a content creation coach, and I work with incredible female entrepreneurs. So literally, I have one dude client, one guy he's great, but the rest are all female. So to hear other men talking at this level and with this depth, I'm like, oh, I got to talk to you guys. This is great. Can I ask you guys, like, how do you define choice, right? Because right now, the way you guys are setting it up, I'm like, it really resonates, but how would you, with like Abram, Matthew, like, what is your specific definition individually for choice, like as its own entity, the word choice?
I can go first
No.
if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead, Matthew. Go ahead.
Okay. Um, so I make a distinction between making a decision and making a choice. And to me, a decision is a mind-based, rational thing. It's there's always reasons for a decision. So the mind will come up with, I don't want to do this right now because I feel whatever. I'm just going to go watch Netflix. Whereas a choice is actually dropping from the mind, like literally just ignoring it entirely and tuning into, I refer to it as intuition.
I
Other
was gonna
people
say,
call it the
yeah.
Holy Spirit, the divine God, love, whatever. But tuning into intuition, my higher self, and just letting that choose. And the funny thing about that is there is no reason when I choose. The reason does not become apparent until after the fact. So just like as an example, several months ago, I was drawn to go participate in a congressional campaign. And, Matthew, like my mind, I had no interest in politics. I have no interest in trying to change the system. I have no interest in fighting. I have nothing to defend. But I chose to get involved with that. And I had no earthly idea why. And what it turned out to be was the conversations that I had with the people on the campaign and the things that we learn from each other in that. So that to me is the difference between a choice and a decision.
Well, and the way you're articulating it too is super cool because what stood out for me, the way you delineated from decision was what the word that you added that really stuck out was making the choice. It was an act of creation where you said, like the making was this analytical kind of assessment of I have options. And that to me is very like that. I think when you're in the shit, like when you're in it, when it's like when like you're talking about, like when you guys are in that state of depression and that like where nothing is working out. And I've been there, and it's the worst. I got divorced as a result of it, and we're good friends now. It's all good. My former wife and I, but like we were in this paralysis, right? You don't believe that there's options, and so the notion of creating from that space, creating a choice, or even just creating the articulation of options. It's just like, right? Like it feels like it's so far out there that it's not even possible.
Absolutely, yeah. And one thing, kind of in the context of choice, it's kind of very closely linked is acceptance, and it's kind of counterintuitive. Because choice you think is like something separate, like you choose this as separate of this, but like when you actually accept the present moment, that's where choice is available. And I would say you can live by. It's like I can choose to live by chance or by choice. And another way of saying that is, I can be at the effect of the chaos of my circumstances, or I can be cause in the order, in the beauty, in the possibility. And that's my like you were saying, I make that. That's my expression as a creator of my own words. And it's like the choice is separate of our control, which is really ultimately is an illusion. Our control is, our idea of control is just another, is a buried fear. Like if we really believe we have control, it's based in fear. And then when we actually accept we don't have control, that's where a choice is actually available.
And it's interesting you bring up the conflict of it, that like so many people probably do feel that they're in a state of chaos at all times, right? Or plenty, like most of the times, right? I gotta tell you, Abram, I don't know how right now, like my dream was always to be a singer. I'm like, how are you making the choice right now to not make music? I feel like in your background, you have so many options. Like, I'm like, how are you choosing not to just, rock it out? Are you a singer too? Do you sing and make, like, right?
I am. I've had a music career for about 13 years, and this whole stage and nonprofit kind of came after putting my touring on a shelf just to do some deeper searching. But to answer your question, yes, I still play. I've been working on some songs, but I haven't been very public about it because we have a whole bunch of stuff we've been brewing up with this nonprofit. But yes, I have been writing, not performing as much, which it worked out, and I didn't plan it this way, but putting my music career and touring on the shelf worked out for COVID, because it's like I didn't know COVID was going to happen, but it's like, all right, I'm gonna shelve this, and then it's like, all right, the world's closed and there's no shows anywhere, and it's like, well, I guess this is a good time to really dive deeper Well, I'm glad that you asked that, because one thing that I've really experienced in my own creativity and like the choice of it is before, when I was playing music, and not to talk down or diminish what I've created, because I'm very proud and very honored to have the career I did and being able to travel the world. But a lot of the time, it was my music. I built a career of music out of the conversation when I was younger that I didn't belong, and music became it wasn't just an escape, because that's kind of an oversimplification, but it became, hey, I realized like, hey, I can impact people. People notice me. People are affected when I sing, when I play. But it became this, like, and this is really applicable to choice, but it became this point where I lost my choice, where I was doing it for so long that it's like, just because I've been doing it for so long and I'm good at it isn't a reason enough to do it. It's just like, that's not a choice. I'm just doing it because I have been. And it's like, why, like, what is my choice for doing this? And that's kind of what's come full circle. It's like, now when I'm writing, when I'm playing, when I'm performing, it's like, it's coming from a deeper place that I can reliably create and choose from, as opposed to like a broken clock. Like I made great songs, but it's like, who am I? Why am I doing this? And what am I saying? Like, what is my intention behind this? And now it's like, I can actually create everything I do and choose to create everything I do from a space of collaboration, from a space of love and compassion, and ultimately, pointing others to themselves and myself to myself.
Wasn't there, so again, to your point, right, that I see the acceptance in your eyes. There's so much more clarity in that expression of your creative, like output, right? Versus, I totally feel like I as a coach, I say this lightly, but like, it was a big deal. But like, I found out recently, like about a month and a half ago, I talking about trauma. Like I realized what that big trauma that I had as a kid was. There was some abuse, and like I knew about bits and pieces of it. I'm 40, and I was working with a coach, and I was like, and I was able to see the patterns. I was like, shit, that sucks. But as a coach, I was like, that's awesome, because now I see why I do all these things. And the biggest thing that I realized was, so I perform a comedy show where I do music and comedy when there's not an international pandemic. But a lot of the laughs I was getting, a lot of the material I was writing was to keep me small. And in my business, especially in COVID, my business exploded last year. It was amazing. And this year already it started, it's incredible. And I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, well, I'm really succeeding over here. So it doesn't feel authentic to like go on stage and be like, I'm an idiot, I'm less than, I'm pathetic. Like it didn't feel authentic, And so when I realized, connecting the dots, I was like, oh, I do that because of that abuse. That's what I learned in that situation. I was like, oh, shit, I don't know what to write anymore. And I don't even know why to do comedy in the first place at this point. And then it's been like a few weeks of like getting back to it and be like, no, I miss it. I love that interplay. But you're right. It's not, I certainly don't feel like I need to do it as a career or anything anymore. But I feel like I want to be much more intentional with each joke and with each premise, and with the release of the tension that you get from laughter and the healing of laughter and relatability. So it's like, I totally feel you on that. And there's acceptance in that, where I go, oh, I can be much more in charge than a lot of my friends who are in the industry. I have a theater background and directing and stuff. And the people that have gone on to big success, they're just gigging. I feel like they go, this is my identity. This is why I do what I do. And there isn't much, some of them are doing the inner work, but it's like, when you're in that zone and that's your identity, that's all you know, it's hard to like reconnect with your artistic self and go, would I still do this now? Like, if I could choose now what I want to do, is this the most authentic? Is this the most fluid thing? So I totally, that resonates a lot, like big time. Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah.
And now, like, you find yourself in a rather unique position, it seems, because you had that experience, that traumatic experience, and you've had the experience of self-deprecation to like be accepted, basically, is what it sounds like, to to get acceptance from your peers, to get accepted into to be liked. And you've seen the other side of that. So this comes back to what I was talking about backstage. On the other side of trauma lies wisdom. And so now you're stepping into wisdom, and you're in this incredibly unique position to share that wisdom with a massive audience. And that's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's what I love. Thank you. Like when you said, I was like, oh, I want to talk about that. It's huge, right? Because within that, I think had I made this realization about 5 or 6 years ago, I lived in Chicago back then, and I'm from Chicago, and moved to Colorado about 5, 6 years ago now. And I always say, like, you know, when we came here, and everything was, it was really a struggle. And I was married at the time. And we had a newborn, and it was like, I feel like I said newborn. We had a newborn child, daughter. We still have her. She's great. She's awesome. We kept her. And when we came here, nothing worked out, and all of our old mindset issues and all of the old like patterns just kind of really rose to the surface. And I remember, you know, like everyone was like, "What are you manifesting? What are you manifesting?" I'm from Chicago. Like, what are you going to manifest? Like a sunny day? You can't. You can't. Like manifesting was not an option. So when I started learning about mindset and abundance and laws of attraction, that set the foundation for me to do the real deep dive, the real deep work, where I saw, you know, if I'm making the decision that I'm a piece of shit, I could also make the choice that maybe I'm not, right? And then I started seeing, oh, I'm in service of others. Maybe I'm helping people, and clients were really happy. And I started getting, for the first time in life, referrals. And it was like, oh, well, maybe I'm not. Like maybe all these things all the stories I had, maybe they're not 100% accurate. And maybe I'm like I'm finding pride in a faux self-awareness. Like if I call myself out and being a loser or dumb or not as big or like not as smart, not as this, whatever, then I'm kind of ahead of the game, which I used to do when I was a heavy kid. And that was how I built acceptance. I was the funny fat kid, right? So all of a sudden I had to like recreate the new gauge of how to fit in and how to hold myself and be like, maybe I'm not, you know? And then, so that was all prepped so that I was kind of like, there's still this piece missing. There's still this feeling that I have that there's something wrong. Like there's this unsafe feeling. And then when I was working with this coach, we, like literally the first day we started working together, I just threw out stuff that I hadn't said for years. And I was like, these things don't align. I would do this, and then I was shamed for this by whatever. And, you know, like all these things came out. And I was like, oh, this is the thing I was looking for, you know, and I just like, it blew my mind. And so because I'd done all that other work on making the choice to have a healthier mindset, to show myself grace and kindness, and to make the switch that why don't we look at everything as a gift and as an opportunity? Life is happening for me. I was able to see that trauma, the abuse, as what a gift that was, because that taught me every skill that I have now that I use to make a really nice living, to give my child a life that she deserves. And at the end of the day, by helping women achieve this sense of confidence and this ability to stand on stage or make videos or whatever, you know, it runs the gamut in my business, but I help women really like hone in on their voice and own it at a time where I think they're the future. I think they're, you know, like they are going to make a difference. They're going to make a little better place. So yeah, so it's like that. I was like, oh, what a gift. I mean, it sucks to the 4-year-old, to the 6-year-old, but like they took them for the team, you know, like not to put it lightly, but yeah. So thank you for saying that. Yeah, the trauma was a huge gift and a huge lesson.
Beautiful.
I love that you're specifically working with mostly women in this. And you said something at the beginning, like, you know, you don't hear men speaking at this level very often.
Yeah.
And I've like, this is something I've noticed in my own life as well. And it's part of where I feel like the draw to work, like I work mostly with women, like that's where that comes from. Is like, there has been such a out of balance nature that has been happening for so long. Like the world has been much more masculine, and by masculine I mean, you know, logical, rational, violent, fear and violence based, like some of the darker aspects of masculinity, and toxic masculinity,
Yeah.
You know, which like I don't judge that, like it. all those have their gifts as well, just like trauma does. But one of the consequences has been women have we as men have suppressed women for millennia, basically. And I feel like, our generation, I'm only a couple years younger than you are, and it's like we have finally come to a place where there's enough accumulated knowledge and understanding that is shared broadly enough in the population that we have this chance to start to bring balance back to that and find a new balance between the masculine and the feminine and actually co-create together, maybe for the first time in history. And so it's funny because, like, yes, I do primarily work mostly with women, but the last almost year and a half, there have been more and more men coming into my life that have
Isn't that
been able to.
interesting?
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
quite nice.
I literally had a call today with a guy, and it was the same thing. And I mean, so deep, and like, the dude's done his work, and like, I was blown away. So it's like funny that it kind of continued, throughout, like it sifted through here. But yeah, that I was taught that the divine feminine or the feminine way of doing things is wrong. Like that was not acceptable. I remember, and my dad's a good guy, and my dad is a huge supporter of. I mean, he's the one that told me just work with women. He's like, women are the best to work with, and he would always promote women to high-ranking positions in his companies and stuff. But I remember at one point, it just took once, like when I was 17, I used to like to dress up for school. I used to like to wear suits and stuff. I don't know. But I remember he said something like, your obsession with clothes, you're like a girl. And I remember I was like, what a stupid thing to say. I was like, what the fuck? Like, so? Like, my sister's a doctor. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, so I'm a girl. Okay. All right. Is that what you got? I remember I was like, it sounded so off key in my ear. It was just the most but I know that that's a thing for a lot of men is this fear. I've seen it, this fear of the feminine, right? And it doesn't. I have a daughter, so like I'm, and I hope I'm not being offensive to anyone, but it's like I always say to my daughter, I'm like, like you came from a woman created you. So women have the ability to create. I'm like, I always wondered if my dad was threatened because he's an Enneagram 8, so very much like wants to control and is a boss and is a leader, and vacillated through the health and not healthy versions of an 8. But I was always like, was he threatened by women in a way, even though he promoted them? Like when he called, he's like you dress up like, he's like, you're like a girl, you're obsessed with fashion. I was like, that's me expressing myself creatively. Like, are you scared of creators? Like, is that your thing? Like, you wish you were a creator and you're just a leader? Like, what is that? So I find that to be the case for a lot of the women that I work with. They tell me that the oppression they felt from guys throughout the years was very much geared around stopping them in a structured way from creating true flow. And I think, and again, as dudes, like if that's what we grow up with, in my opinion, is like the alter or the halting of flow. So yeah, like I don't know, does that resonate, Matthew and Abram? Like, have you guys seen that in your work? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, it is fascinating, and I mean, there's like it's so the toxic masculinity is so exacerbated, and it's become this cycle that has perpetuated like. It's just like we sweep under the rug the toxicities of our generational, just
upbringing.
Yeah, it's like it is and that's kind of a symptom of what's happening now is a symptom of the globalized world where we are connecting on a level we never have, and it's like kind of what I see as the opportunity in this new age. Even if the conversations of division and separateness are so exacerbated, in social media and political, culture and media, and there's the actual talking and connection that's happening across the world on a person like that we don't see because we're not focusing on it is like amazing. Like there's just the amount of connection that has not happened before, and people are actually listening and seeing others and seeing themselves in others, and that's just why I want to acknowledge you, RBJ. Just the work that you do. It's that it can contribute, but the fact that you take it upon yourself to help women share their voice. So it's like in essence, I see it as kind of like an opposite of the culture that was exacerbating the toxic conversation.
Yeah.
And it's like you're taking that and you're contributing to something that has been drowning for a while. It's like and that's why it's so beautiful the work you do, because it's like it takes men like you for women to see that there's not just toxic masculinity in the world. And it's like that's what's so beautiful. It's like really coming full circle, the work that you're doing that is allowing women to share their voice, because we're all better off. Like that's the thing, is like we're all better off if every woman in the world was able to share her voice, and powerfully, without having to be squashed and to be muted and to be, dominated. It's like, how much better would we be? Like how, if we actually had the brain and the soul and the heart of every woman, like fully showing up, as opposed to hiding because we told them to hide. It's like, that's what's exciting. And that's why I really just acknowledge the work you do. So thank you for.
Oh, thanks, man. That's huge, man. And like I should say too. So I politically lean liberal. Like I'm so, I said, I'm so liberal. I'm like moderate. Because I have clients that are on all sides of the spectrum, and I love when I have conservative clients, because they help me see through the feminine lens, right? Like they help me see their their beliefs and those causes. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And I think at the core of all this is, again, like where I think we've all gotten to is this toxic masculinity. So like I just want to say too, it's that I don't mean to imply like that I just work with a certain type of woman. Like I love all stories, in that regard, because I think coming from the feminine, the divine feminine, we can learn as men so much. Like everything can change. So yeah, I thank you for saying it. That's really cool.
Right. Yeah, I feel as men, and I'll speak for myself. I feel like femininity was something that it's funny because even the most masculine of men have feminine sides, and even the most feminine of women have masculine. It's like there's one or the other. That's how the culture is. But it's like it's a yin yang. We all have masculine and feminine traits, and to say anything otherwise is a delusion. It's like there's so much. And we've been, I just remember growing up, it was like, how gays are treated, but I remember like the games that the boys would play when I was younger, it was just like, if you did anything that was anything close to girly, you were gay. And so you never wanted to express, or I never wanted to express, but it's like, well, I didn't want to be called gay. I don't want to be called this or that. And it's like, we pile up these old conversations to make ourselves feel better because we don't want to confront our own lack, our own suffering. I wanna invite our next guest, Wendy, to come on. But we're gonna check back in with you, RBJ, in a sec. We're gonna close out with you. Thank you so much for being here and just the work that you do.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in with us. I want to take this moment to invite you to share your gift, your story on this virtual stage. That's why we are here. We're here to share the unique contributions, the unique genius that you have. What have you faced in your life? That transformed your experience of yourself in the world, that made you willing and able to contribute and be a part of something greater than yourself. That's what the space is here, is to really share the gift that you are, that brings us all closer together, because once we all recognize the choice we have to recognize and share our gift, that's 7 billion gifts that we all, at least, if that's only one gift a person, and that's there's, and I know most of you have way more than one gift to share, but that's why we're doing this. Is when we all share a gift, we all receive a gift. So please, I invite you to join us on this virtual stage. And this is part of our mission, is bringing you and me and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. Now, I would like to welcome back, I think for the third time now, we have the Wendy Huffman. Hi, Wendy.
Hi,
welcome back.
Hi, Matthew. How are you guys?
Good to see you. Doing great.
Pushing the wrong buttons.
You're breaking up a second there, Matthew. Somehow your audio got all funky.
It's like it's
clipping. Yeah, it sounds better now. Oh, okay. Could be again. Well, I wanna invite you, Wendy. Welcome back, and I want to invite you. What's going on with Let's Make the Difference, your nonprofit? We want to hear updates. What's going on?
Well, can I do a quick public service announcement first?
Yeah. Oh, please. Yeah. Here.
I just want to
Take the
share,
stage.
I just had a huge life-changing thing where I'm a widow, and I just found out that widows are entitled and widowers are entitled to survivor benefits at 60 years old. So I'm 61 and a half, and I had been eligible for this benefit for a year and a half, and I didn't know it. And it's a lot of money that I left laying on the table, and I just want to get that message out there. Somebody told me to check it out. I checked it out, and it turned out for a year and a half, the year that I started Let's Make the Difference, and all the year that I've been, cashing in my retirement and living off my savings and everything, I could have had an income to take care of me. So I just want to get that public service announcement out there. If you know people, who have lost their spouses, let them know to check into survivor benefits from Social Security, and they're probably eligible. So there's my public service announcement. Just want to let people know about that.
Was there a place that you went to actually get this information?
You can go to the Social Security website and on there, and yeah, go to the Security Department and check in. It's called Survivor Benefits.
And Matt, your sound's cutting out. It's getting really clippy.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, now while he's figuring that out, I want to. So tell me, what's new? How's the work? How's everything in Africa?
It's really exciting. We started Let's Make the Difference about a year and a half ago, and the first year we accomplished sending 11 people to some empowerment and leadership training classes in South Africa. And so the project now for this year is to bring solar power to the schools. But we've got about 6 projects. We're building a team. So the first, I'm going to go ahead and make requests while I'm telling you what's going on. We need team members. And we've got big dreams. We're actually operating as an umbrella for some other projects too. So if other people are struggling with starting a nonprofit, but they have a vision and they have a strategy for what they want to accomplish in the world, we can actually maybe help. And we're building a team. The first thing that we're doing is the first mission statement that I want to put out there is we exist to empower and provide economic opportunities for disadvantaged youth in Africa. And how we're doing that, and we want it to be sustainable giving. We're not looking to fundraise the rest of our life. We want to provide a way to empower them and to offer economic opportunities to them so that they can provide for themselves. So how we're doing that is we have curriculum that has been donated, which is empowerment curriculum on seeing life bigger. It's called Reclaim Your Power. Sean Behrman is the author of it, and it is about how to overcome your circumstances and the mindset that limits you in those circumstances, right? So it's like the disempowering conversations. Like, how do you overcome those? And she offers this training here in the States, and you can contact me to find out about that if you're interested in that. But that's something that she's donated to use for the teachers and the students in Africa also. Also, we're creating right now mastermind entrepreneurship curriculum and a student leadership council so that we can go to these vocational schools and we can train the students not just on how to get a job, how to own a business, and how to become a leader in their community. And so that's the vision. The first thing that we found we have to do is to what separates them from the global opportunity is really power. Like, they have rolling blackouts that are 14 hours a day for months during their dry season. We can bring them solar power. We can connect them to the global economy. So in the entrepreneurial training, what we want to have them do is create business plans, not just for local businesses, but to actually connect to the global economy and create income from the income of the world instead of what they're limited to. So that's kind of what we're up to. We're so excited because we've got really some powerful people coming on our board. Sean Behrman, who's an incredible business coach and a performance coach. How do you describe Sean, Abram? She's just like a powerhouse, right? And she had a similar dream of creating, training students in Gambia and Nigeria to, in computers and teaching them empowerment training, and then helping them like creating businesses and offering their services to the global economy. So she came under the umbrella of Let's Make the Difference, and she's on our board. We also have, so we need team members. We've got people starting to be inspired and be enrolled and coming on board. And so we're building the teams underneath of them. And we have, right now I'm writing a business plan, and we're creating this. Kathy is an incredible visionary when it comes to business plans. And we're creating a seminar. That's going to be our next fundraiser. We're creating a month-long seminar where every week you take a phase of your business plan, and like we'll have an hour and a half training on that. And then that'll be on the weekend. Then Tuesday night, we'll do a brainstorming session to help people with their mission and their visions, vision statement. And then Friday, we'll have question and answers and get that section complete. And then the next week, we'll start phase 2, and we'll do the same thing again. And then phase 3. And so by the end of the seminar series, they will have a business plan they can take to the bank. And so she's doing that with me now. And we're submitting it for venture capitalists to help with micro lending to get started with the solar power.
That's so awesome. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Well, there's a question that comes up in all that.
Okay.
This is something that I've been sitting with quite a bit recently, the last 2 or 3 months mostly. But I love that initiative. I love the empowerment that feels like it comes with it. The ability to step into a more comfortable lifestyle, to alleviate suffering, to build something for themselves. But to what ultimate end? Like, what is the end goal of joining the global economy? What is the end goal of the global economy to begin with? Like, I feel like we have been doing a lot of things as a species simply because we can do them. But there hasn't really been any thought put into what is the vision. What are we creating in this? Because, yeah, okay, this is great. Like, I have this lovely house to live in. I have running water. I have electricity. I have, luxuries that afford me a lot of free time. But then what do I do with that free time? Where am I going? Because all these things are nice, but I can't take them with I can't take them with me when I die. And most of the work that is available within the economy has absolutely no meaning to me. Like, it's all it seems to be doing is creating more wealth for a very small subset of people.
And then the conspicuous consumption, where it's
exactly.
Like we become a whole society of consumers.
And that's and we've created this major disharmony, this major out of balance in the world.
Yeah,
like
and
we have a world that's
fueled by the greed and the getting instead of more of a giving economy. And I think that's kind of where we want to go. Is we want to create leadership and fulfillment. And I know everyone's heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but Tony Robbins has changed that a little bit, and I like the way that he has it identified. Is there's basically six human needs: 4 that everyone gets fulfilled, and that's the need for certainty, the need for uncertainty, the need for significance, and the need for love and connection. And how we order those in our life kind of determines our experience of life. Right? Because if certainty is your main thing and that's what you've got to have, then you're not going to take risks. You're not going to, you're not going to like when you can't control things, right? But you have a choice about how you order those. Well, those are four, where's my hand? Those are 4 needs. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. There's my hand. There are 4 needs that always get met, right? No matter what. Those are survival needs. But to be fulfilled, you need the other 2 needs. And those are the needs for personal growth and for contribution. Mm-hmm. So that's what, if we can teach people to live lives of giving, contributing to others, making their life make the difference, right? That's the nonprofit, is let's make the difference in the world. And let's make that our purpose, is to see where we can use our gifts to contribute to others and leave a legacy, you know, so that our life means something after we're gone. And it's not just like he who dies with the most toys wins, right? Like that's really our society. But
yeah,
that's not what
I think you answered the question. I was going to ask you a question. I think you just answered it with what you just said. But I just wanted to ask, like, for those who aren't familiar with Let's Make a Difference, like just like share some of the amazing work of what you've done, but also what your mission is and what you're seeing, and like for Africa and for the world and for, education for the youth. Like, I would love for you to share for those who aren't familiar.
Okay, well, my husband Bill Spoutov loved to travel, and he was actually traveling through Africa and stayed in Zambia for several weeks. And he always would rent an apartment and then find a place to volunteer. When he was in Cape Town, he worked in a soup kitchen. And when he went to Zambia, one of the gals that worked at the hotel he was in told him about the Youth Community Training Center, where she got her certification to work. Now, the education system in Zambia ends, the free education ends at 7th grade. And then if the parents can't afford to put the kids in school, they're kind of unemployable. They have to have a certificate of some kind of training to get a job. So a lot of the kids become street kids, or maybe, I guess farm workers, but there's a lot of abandoned children, and there's a lot of orphans out there that really don't have the means to get that certificate for to have a vocational occupation, let alone go to college for higher education. So Bill was volunteering at this school, and it was Easter, so the students were all out, but he met with the teachers and he spoke, and you could see this on my YouTube channel, Wendy Huffman, Huffman, on the Zambia, Project Zambia, or the Zambia Project. I think it's Project Zambia. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of ones that talk about the first year. But he died a week after giving this speech. And thank God they recorded it. And it's really an inspiring speech about setting big goals and making a difference in the world. And the whole 2 weeks before he died, we had conversations for hours every day about, this is it. This is the nonprofit we wanted to start. This is the place that's doing a lot of good. We always wanted to find some kind of focus where we could help. And he says, this is it, Wendy. Can you build them a website? Can you do a fundraiser for them? How can you help them? And I was just like, oh my gosh, I just started a business. I was in an advanced leadership training myself. I was like, I don't know that I can do this right now, but let me work on it. And then when he died, and I went over there and I met everyone, and I saw what he was talking about and what he fell in love with. And I thought, this is like his last wish, and this gives me direction and purpose. So let's make the difference.org was something we bought together probably in 2010, 2011, something, but we'd never known what to do with it. And I started my 501(c), and the first year we sent 11 people to the advanced leadership training in Cape Town, and I went with them, and to lay the foundation of integrity and possibility. Like, really, we can create the world that we want. We don't have to settle for what we got stuck with, right? And it's a possibility. It's a possibility that we create in language and action. And so that's kind of what we're up to. So what our vision is to create the Youth Community Training Center as a pilot school or a model school that then we can scale and take to all of Africa. Zambia, the minimum wage there, I think, is $57 a month. A teacher is making $100 a month, maybe. Their electric bills during their dry season, when they have no power, go up to $1,000 a month by running the generators and what the high cost of what electricity is with no hydroelectric power. So solar power would save them so much money. I think it could be it could put them on a path of being self-sufficient and then being able to contribute to the community. So if they had solar power, they could connect to the global economy because they would have power all the time. They'd have connectivity. They could actually have a business or start a business. The Mastermind Project, I want the senior class to actually come up with a business plan and then create, with mentorship available and community participation. They learn how to do research. They learn how to vet, business ideas. They are getting coaching from successful business owners in the community, as well as from here, from people that want to participate here. And then by the end of the year, maybe launch this business so we can have a micro lending division that actually can help fund starting these businesses. And I mean, it's a dream, but we're making it happen. I have a lawyer from Atlanta that just agreed to come on the board to help with the contracts. The head of the school board in Zambia has a financial background, and he has experience with microlending. I'm supposed to meet with him next week to find out what legally we have to do to get started there. Also, the business plan is to go to be submitted to some venture capitalists. So it's like things are really happening. It's exciting. We're going to also be doing a grant writing seminar. And so we're looking for people that might be interested in participating in that. And they can either pay for the course or they can write a grant for us in exchange for their tuition. So, we're looking for people who are enrolled in the dream and the vision. And even if they have their own nonprofit, partnering with us, we can share information and share the vision, So.
Yeah. Beautiful, Wendy. Just your whole story, and you carrying that Bill's last wish, and now it's in reality. Things, not only are they moving, but other people are joining Bill's wish, and I think that's such a beautiful, poetic.
It's almost at the tipping point. I think by next year, this time we'll be at the tipping point where if anything happened to me, it would still go on. It might be there now, but it might be there now, but we'll see. We're going to be adding these new board members, and then the board serves for 2 years. So December of 2021, we'll be installing the new board, and then we can, keep going forward. Hopefully we'll have some really exciting things to report that we've accomplished by then. More things.
Yeah. Totally.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
That's really exciting. That's really exciting. I want to see if RBJ's, if he's available still to come back. Oh, looks like he's still there. We're going to bring him back into the mix. Welcome back, RBJ. So I want to thank you again, Wendy, for sharing all the amazing work that you're up to. And I'm seeing a couple themes, but one thing I wanted to kind of bring it full circle. We were talking kind of about, we were talking about toxic masculinity and about empowering women, and we have a woman with us now. But I wanted to hear Wendy's thoughts on what we were sharing earlier, but also wanted to connect the dots on what I keep on seeing a theme and a connection. It's like empowering people who haven't been able to empower, or just like it's like giving back to people who have not been able to have their own voice or their own sovereignty. Their own, maybe it's financial, maybe it's emotional, maybe it's physical, whatever, but their own, ability to have their own power and to create their lives. And I see the work that both of you are doing is contributing. It is allowing others to really follow their voice, but to do what matters to them, but matters to this world. And without the work you do, they wouldn't be able to do it. And that's what's so remarkable. It's like, and that's really what service is like, you're making an impact. Like, if you didn't do what you do, people wouldn't be having the breakthroughs. They wouldn't be having their voice. They wouldn't be having their financial sovereignty. And I just want to acknowledge both of you for that. And I love that these dots always connect without us trying. But well, yeah. So I want to give you both an opportunity to kind of speak to that. Wendy, was there any, to the first point, was there anything that, I know you're jumping around, so you may have not heard the whole thing, but was there anything that stood out to you, what you did hear about, the state of not just toxic masculinity, but the state of the balance or the equilibrium of masculine and feminine, and not just male and female, but just that paradigm. What is your experience that you of the world now, and maybe before and after?
Well, I have to think about how to say this, but it's almost like when we no longer talk about gender and we no longer talk about race, like that's when we know we have equality, right? Like when it's not like it was a woman that did this, it's just like, did you hear about that? Does that make sense? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that didn't come out the way that I meant it, but it's like, thank you for the work that you're doing, RBJ. And yeah, I think there's good and bad in every role. And it's awesome when we can, come bring up the good side and focus on that and diminish like the negative side. And I don't know, I'm rambling. It's not making sense. Sorry.
No, I think that's a really kind of, it's a ginger line to toe, right? And I have to apologize. I have to leave in like 3 minutes. I have to get on a call, but this is kind of, I think for a lot of people, this was the debate, especially in 2020, was this idea of I heard it from all sides. Is like there's one side that said we have to keep talking about it because maybe we haven't been to the extent, right? And we have to talk about it to bring it to the surface. And the other side goes, I'm sick of talking about it already. Like it's making me more self-conscious or whatever, So it's like, I think it's a real, like, I think you're right. The ideal is when there's that huge shift where people can just be like, it is what, like, it's all one, right? But I think until that point, right, like you would agree, like it has to still be part of the conversation. And I say this fully acknowledging as a white male, right? Like I've had women be like, why would someone hire you for that? Like there's women that do what you do. And I'm like, totally, like totally. Like I happen to have just fallen into it and love it, right? So like I'm grateful. Like for every client that comes my way, I'm beyond grateful. But I maintain, I'm like, I know fully like what you're looking at. You know what I mean? Like I get it. And you're right. Hopefully in the future.
Yeah, I mean that's like the ultimate. That's the ultimate goal when we know we've been successful. I'm not saying that isn't that's like we should just all shut up and live with it. I'm not saying that. There is definitely. I guess I was just. I think it was Martin Luther King that actually said that. But yeah, I acknowledge you for the work that you've taken on, and we need to acknowledge. We have to acknowledge what's so and what's there, so not to stick our head in the sand and say, oh, this doesn't exist and we want to create utopia by ignoring things. But yeah, like for valuing individuals as individuals and not focusing on, yeah.
I feel, and Wendy, and like, I told you, and I'm with you like 100% with that. And so like, and again, like, holy goodness, like what you created is amazing. Like I think we're all in all, yeah. Like,
and it's not like, oh, well, this woman created this. It's like, what? Right. I'm a person. It's like being a woman wasn't what made me create it.
Right.
So, like, yeah, you get it. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. Because as you're saying, because I'm like, right, like you're in it would discredit you. Which is unfortunate, right? But it's like it's not about that. It's about who did it, right? Like who made the best thing. And I get that side of it, right? And so yeah, I'm tongue tied too because it's
it's like I'm not my body. Like I'm not my body. And the one thing about Bill, I didn't say much about Bill, but he was disabled, and the most inspiring thing about him was how he was just totally not accepting, or not, that's not the right way to say it, but he got in himself that he was not his body. He did not let his disability define him in any way. And it was so freaking inspiring. I lived with the man 10 years and I forgot he was disabled half the time. And one of the funny things I always say is like, we always had fresh food. And I always thought, yeah, Bill's a nut about eating fresh food, right? He just would never buy anything in a can or a jar. And then I realized he couldn't open them. He couldn't open a can or a jar. He had one hand that worked and one hand that didn't. So it's kind of like, oh, okay. So it's just kind of a funny, take on it. But anyway,
he was coming at it from such a positivity that it didn't.
It's because we're not our bodies. We don't want our bodies to define us.
Yeah. I want to jump in here because I know you have to jump off, RBJ. I just wanted to just say thank you again for sharing and being with us. I would love to have you share again soon. And we had a great conversation. I feel like we could go on for hours, but thank you so much for being here, RBJ. And I just acknowledge you again for the work you do. And it's just such an honor and privilege to have you on the stage. I think we're about to close out. I wanted to give Wendy any last moment if she had any final words, but I just want to release you, RBJ, because I know you had to go.
Thank you guys so much. And to be on a thing with all you guys and Wendy, especially, oh my God, you guys are amazing. So thank you so much. I'm definitely going to check out more episodes. You guys are great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, RBJ. There's so many things that are left in this conversation that are unsaid. I would love to have him back.
Yeah.
So let's work on that.
Totally. Well, Wendy, I want to give you any closing thoughts. Obviously RBJ left, but I wanted to give you another spotlight. Anything else?
Yeah, this is the thing. You have a nonprofit too with the One Day movement, and I just want to encourage people to look for their passion and to follow their passion. If anything I've been said has inspired people about being part of changing the face of Africa, if that speaks to them, I'd love to have them come on board and we'll find their niche, right? And the same with you. If maybe they're like, why would I want to do anything in Africa? We have needs here at home. The One Day movement, there's a place for them there. There's nonprofits out there that we need hands, right? This isn't about Abe Rivers, and this isn't about Wendy Huffman, and this isn't about Matthew. It's about coming together as one to make a difference in the world, and so people can find a place for their voice, to voice what they care about and how they want to contribute it and the legacy they want to leave in the world. And that's my invitation. Maybe it's not with Let's Make the Difference. Maybe it's not with One Day, but there's a nonprofit out there that can use their hands, their mind, their love, whatever they want to contribute. If they're an accountant and they think, we need accountants, to help. We need marketing people. We need people that know how to do grant writing, or people that want to learn grant writing. We need administrative people, anyone who wants to donate any amount of time, an hour a week, or 10 hours a week, whatever we can put them to work. So it's and if you've approached us before and you haven't been called back, reach out again. Sometimes it's overwhelming. We need those admin people to help us get organized. Right? It's oh my gosh, I got people who want to help and I don't know what to do. We need admin people to
tell
help
me about
us.
it.
Raise your hand and say, let me help you with the volunteers.
I love it.
Yeah, right?
There's nothing more, in my experience, there's nothing more beneficial, uplifting, and fulfilling than using, our gift to contribute to others. There's nothing. And it's our minds could think of a million, what about this? What about that? But it's until you experience that, it's somebody comes to you and says, I you gave me my voice, or you gave me food, or you gave me shelter. It's when they're hugging you because of the difference you made, it fills you and them and this world up beyond measure. Mm-hmm. And we can't even see the impact we can't even we don't know how much the trickles of the impact that it makes to their family and the people in their lives. And it's just one smile or one frown can impact the world. And that's not an over exaggeration. You could be the one smile or the one cutting somebody off on the freeway that was the last straw that they needed for the faith in themselves and in humanity. And it seems like an oversimplification, but it's not. Like, everything we do in every moment impacts the world. And when we actually see, recognize, and remember that, I mean, myself included, I forget all the time, but when we actually remember that, it's like, that's when the world works. Like, it's like we are all flowing in a natural cycle of our own abundance, of our own contribution. And that's what, like, just kind of what you're pointing to. It's just like, there's nothing more fulfilling than contributing our gift to others.
Yeah, that it sounds like you took that right out of Bill's last video.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. That he said that, and he said it's a smile. You know, we really do make the difference every day with the people that we meet when we share ourselves, you know, authentically, when we smile, when we ask people how they're doing and we show that we care. It really does make a difference. And yeah, we want to encourage people to keep doing that. Keep doing that too. And if they want to step into something bigger, I will find a place.
Keep smiling too. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you so much. And, you know, thank you again to RBJ, and thank you to Bill. Seems like he's showing up in this episode as well. But thank you all at home again. I want to real quick just kind of invite you again. Share your gift, share your voice with us. That's why we are here, is to give you a space to share who you are. Like I said, like when you make a contribution, if it's just a smile, if you want to come in and just smile, we'll accept that. It's really the gift that you are is what contributes and allows us to be lifted up by your passion, by your inspiration. Like, your inspiration is what leads the way for our inspiration. And it's like, in sharing that is what gives us all, you know, it gives us the wherewithal, the courage to rise above our struggles and rise above our tribulations. And our vision here one day is humanity rising in a connected world, with each person's unique contribution being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. That's why we're here, one story at a time, one smile at a time. We're here to share your voice and your art and your creativity and your expression, and how much stronger we are with you and your voice fully expressed, fully seen, and fully heard. That's the world that we're creating. That's the story, and that's a conversation that we're standing together. We invite you to join us. Thank you all. I love you all. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. As always, be safe, be well, and one day is today.